Hi, everybody. It's Kim Morrison, and welcome to the You're Not Broken Summit, where you're going to learn some powerful tools to release self-judgment forever and create dynamic self-empowerment. And today, I'm so thrilled to have Maura Sweeney with us. And just in case you're not familiar with Maura and you haven't met her yet, I'll let you know just a little bit about Maura's background and who she is. So as a voice for a better world, Maura Sweeney shares a living, happy, inside-out mantra and conveys her reflections through books, podcasts, a HuffPost blog, and as an international speaker. Combining reflective questions and insightful stories, she helps individuals find their voice and entrepreneurs develop their brand and leaders emerge into their most authentic, influential, and highest versions of self. And I asked Maura to join us today, particularly because of her mantra, living happy inside out. I love that way of living. And I think happiness and empowerment go hand in hand. And I don't think you can have happiness if you're full of self-judgment. So I just thought Maura was such an amazing fit and all around lovely, lovely lady to ask to join us today. So Maura, thank you for joining us.
Kim, thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be part of this conference.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So for folks who haven't met you yet, would you like to give them just maybe a little snippet of who is Maura Sweeney?
Well, Maura Sweeney, she's going to be 59. She lives in sunny Florida, grew up in New Jersey where it was always cold, looking at the skylines of Manhattan, and constantly looking at airplanes in the sky thinking, I want to meet new friends around the world. I was probably a very early dreamer. Left-handed, I wrote everything backwards when I was growing up and actually saw the end of life when I was a very young child. And I think that combination of all of those things gave me a very unique perspective on life. And that was, I'll give you the first thing, living happy from the inside out. From the time I was a preschooler, I gather very intuitive. And I remember thinking, why are all these big people, meaning adults, going out of their way and using all of this energy to get everyone around them to approve of them or to give them their attention? And as this very young child, I used to think, well, why do they need to work so hard to get everyone else's attention and approval when all they need to do is say to themselves, well, how do I feel about this? As if it was all internalized already, that the peace already lived within. And that was my early life. And so I decided from a child that I was going to grow up to be happy and free, even though I grew up really feeling the opposite, which is probably why I'm so passionate about doing what I do today. And the living happy inside out mantra is just that. It's instead of my looking for approbation, affirmation, approval, inclusion from everybody out there in the world system, which is constantly changing, always elusive. It's like running after your tail and never getting the prize at the end of it. Yeah. Why not instead go within, separate yourself from all of these outside stimuli and just say, well, how do I feel about this? What's my energy doing? Is this resonating with me? Is my inside smiling and excited, or do I feel like I'm, climbing Mount Everest or underneath a big rock? And so that's why I write and speak and do my podcasts all from that very vantage point so that everyone else can find their home, and their home base really is their happy base, and it's usually their most influential and highest place if they just allow it to bloom.
Wow. So let me ask you, do you ever experience self-judgment with this, happy being that you are?
Never, no.
Okay, we're done.
Thank you for asking. And I think,
hey, you got it all together.
People do. I think when people see me, Kim, they think, oh, I've been married for 35 years. My husband and I have been together since college. I'm always happy. And generally, I am very happy. However, what people don't realize is that all of the exercises that I've put myself through for decades to get to that place and that space, because I really grew up, I would say, in either a bifurcated world or, let's say, in an environment of great conflict, when externally I'm trying so hard to do everything that's right,
Yeah.
but it doesn't, but doing all of that and exerting all of that energy never felt right on the inside. So I felt like I was living two lives at the same time. And by early 20s, I thought, oh my gosh, I just can't do it anymore. It was like carrying too much. My energy level was low. I actually looked like the Walking Dead. And in my case, what I ended up doing was leaving law school, not because, really because I could not continue living a life in a path that my family had decided from the time I was 5 that was going to be mine.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so my personal journey, probably like yours, Kim, and others that you're inviting onto this summit, we work out our own issues. We're problem solvers for ourselves. As we go through these difficult times in life, we think, all right, how do I get to this place of where I do feel at peace, or where I do feel energized, or I do feel affirmed in and of my own being? It's a process, and I've taken decades. So now I'm a storyteller and a sharer and a reflective question asker, to help others get where I am getting at a much quicker rate.
So if someone came to you who is where you were when you were, say, 20, or, struggling with the self-judgment, or you're not happy, or you're doing what, society and your family wanted you to do. If somebody came to you and said, look, I just can't get out of this, self-judgment or unhappiness trap, what sort of tools, or, what sort of advice would you offer them to help them change that?
Thanks for asking. The first piece of advice is, if you are constantly trying to please other people, you're never going to be happy, you'll never be empowered, and you'll always be operating out of fear. And I know this from so many experiences, that when we have a fear-based relationship, the very first time we feel like we pull away and do something on our own, we're fearful of losing that relationship. So we're constantly giving out negative energy that's against who we really are. The advice would be, get it over with. The people who really like you will stick with you. They'll embrace you, they'll approve of you, and they'll bless you along your way. Those that don't, well, you might as well find out sooner rather than later. So that's a piece of advice. Now, the other piece of it, you were going to say, what would be a modality or what to do with a person that says, gee, I don't know who I am.
Or even just a great
what am I doing?
Doesn't have to
This
be.
is what I say. Easy. I always offer this because before I read any books, this is where I got to. Go on your own. And most of us get caught in our head, how we're fashioned. And just wherever you put your hand is where the energy moves. But more than that, the attention moves. I spoke about that knowing on the inside as a child. So this is what I invite people to do every time I speak. Close their eyes and put their hand right over, I guess it would be right underneath the collarbone and over their chest, as if they were going to say the Pledge of Allegiance or something if they lived in America. And have them close their eyes, breathe lightly, and go back in time and just ask a question. And this question can change, but this one I love, Kim, and it is, what was I doing as a child that I loved?
Oh, I love that.
You can't believe the answers that come out of it. Kim, what happens is that when you do that, and here's the next thing, and I always tell people, just let your imagination go. And I said, the moment you land somewhere and there's a smile that comes to your face, and I could see it. I was speaking at a group from University of South Florida last week, and I could look at the audience, and immediately you could see smiles emerge. People know their happy spot. Yeah. When they connect with that, it's usually at an early time before the world starts reforming your life. Yeah. And take those elements. It could be feelings, it could be people, it could be activities, it could be curiosities, interests, daydreaming. It doesn't matter. Games you made up. There are little telltale signs. These, I call them threads. pick up those threads because they're from your soul. They're from the inside of you that says, you know what, these are things I came into the world to explore, to find out about, to overcome, to develop in, to become expert in, to make myself happy, to expand. And the more we give, first of all, we have to identify those places. And then the more we expand upon them and use them and find ways to experiment with them, the more our outer shell goes away, the more of that self-judgment that, oh, the world doesn't approve of me, or I'm not good enough. That's the biggie. It starts to peel away as the inner person comes up and emerges a fresh and a new, I almost want to say like a springtime flower. Seriously, there's a life within us. And I'm living proof of it, Kim. But the thing is, I see other people finding or connecting with those things they loved as a young person and finally giving themselves a little time and a little space to start developing them. And it's amazing what emerges. There's energy, there's a sense of identity. And then there's also, if you want to go back to this thing about self-judgment and self-empowerment, when we start giving ourselves permission to be who we really are from the inside, we realize that we are constantly developing ourselves. And usually it's like 2 or 3 different things we have. When we put them together, we end up being uniquely a new flavor with unique abilities and a unique fragrance. And then suddenly we're in a class all by ourselves. We have these skills and abilities, and they could be anything from baking cakes to reading to children at a library to creating, the solution to cancer. Doesn't matter. But suddenly we're the only one that does that. We have this unique ability and the world makes room for us. And now we lose a lot of the self-judgment because we're not saying, oh, I need to be like that person over there. Yeah. And it's so affirming.
I love that. Yeah, it takes you out of comparison, right?
And that's all the world does. Constant. Like how many Elvis lookalikes are there? How many Michael Jacksons? But there's only one Elvis. And when Elvis was a little boy, he was not accepted, but kept working on his own talents and became an icon.
That's like what is it? Just be you because everyone else is taken.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful because it's like when you find your, if you want to call it your authentic self, you're automatically happy and you're out of self-judgment.
Yes.
And you're feeling self-empowered.
But we don't do that. We do the opposite constantly because we're all programmed that way. There's certain silos. We all are. I lived it. But here's another thing that I love. It works in reverse to what I just advised you of in terms of going within. One of the things I love doing and I love encouraging others to do it is wherever they are, whoever they're around, find something fine about another individual. Is it the way they make room for you? Is it an ability that they have? Is it something they said that really made you think twice? Is it a kind act? Is anything positive? Start to give affirmation to those people. Do you know the more we do that, the more it works back as a mirror and reflects back on us. We're literally teaching the world how to see the good that is in them. And every time we do that, they start to feel a little more affirmed and their external fear and self-judgment goes away. Many people are afraid to accept a compliment, but compliments, when we train ourselves to see them, we can also see the abilities and the attributes and the personal beautiful things that we have within us as an equal exchange.
Yeah, it's like we're taught that that's like, seeing the beauty in ourselves. It's almost like we're brought up that that's like arrogant and, and how unkind to us is that when we don't do that.
I love doing it.
Beautiful. That is
it's so natural. To me, that is the real world. We are living in a falsehood. And it constantly perpetuates on, throughout the ages. So we actually need to reprogram ourselves, or deprogram is a better word. But then we can also help others along that same process. I did it in corporate life. And I'm telling you, we ended up in an office and there were sales offices. with people of every different ability. And yet I managed to find the expertise and the talents and the gems within each individual so that collectively they knew they were better because everyone had a specific gift. And it works that way in every organization. But we just need to learn it and then duplicate it so that others learn and they immediately step up to a higher level.
So it's like like how much time is spent in our society, especially with children in school, working on the weaknesses instead of expanding strengths, right? Like,
always.
What a gift. Expand on the gift of who and what you are, because everybody's got that something innate, not just something, one thing, but innate specialness. Like you say, like when you find those three things, you're not going to be like, you're going to discover you're not like anybody else. So there can't be any comparison because these are special to you.
Exactly. And unique to you.
Yeah. Like what if we could, get kids doing that from day one so they don't have to wait until their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, to come to the place where it's like, okay, now I need to change this. And it's gone on for so long. I need to change this now. Like, what if that never had to be?
I totally agree. I said to my husband recently, it's a good thing 35 years ago, 30 years ago, I didn't know the world really operates the way it does. I actually thought most people thought the way I did or lived the way I did, but I must have been in this mental social bubble. And every time someone misbehaved, I would always say, oh, they're the exception to the rule. They're the exception. Now I'm looking around and the majority of society is they're broken, but only because they're following after these external cues that don't work. They don't make us happy. They don't empower us. They don't broaden us. They don't affirm us. We're doing everything backwards. But if we can start internally by saying, you know what, I'm going to take a seat on my own throne internally. I know I'm a gift. I may not even be able to connect with or identify with any of my gifts right now, but I'm starting today. And a little bit of time by asking yourself those questions when it's quiet, when you have even a journal nearby, and you will be amazed at the answers you get because it's as if the inside person is always at peace, is always free, knows what needs to be known, but we never think to go within. The answers that come out, the feelings that come out, the empowerment, it's wonderful. I need to answer or offer one more thing because I know this is a short interview and you may not ask it. This thing about releasing self-judgment, I thought about this before we got online, Kim. People often judge themselves so harshly, and the people who judge themselves so harshly are the ones who are constantly coming off judging everyone else. Once we learn to forgive others and forgive ourselves, or forgive ourselves, we'll forgive others. Yeah. All of that goes away too. There are so many people that dislike, abhor, even hate themselves so much because they have either said, well, this is what I should have been and I made a mistake, or this is what I was told and I didn't measure up, or my teacher told me something, or my mother didn't like me, or my father, kicked me around, whatever it may be. And they live in that place. The way to undo it and to set them free is just by forgiving. And I always think, if I looked at the universe as a reflection of me, meaning the universe of people and circumstances, and I knew I always wanted to be forgiven for everything, no matter who that person is in front of me, no matter what was done, would I want to forgive them? And the answer is always the same. It's absolutely, positively no excuses. Now, it doesn't mean it's an easy process, but guess what? That is like the fast track to feeling free and getting rid of unbelievable, I want to say, heavy burdens we carry through life. Forgive it all and forgive yourself, and you'll feel lighter all the time.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. That's like, I don't know, another awesome ninja trick. Yeah. And stop judging others.
You'll find the most judgmental people, if you really step back, don't react to them, but you step back, you would find at some level they're externalizing the way they feel internally.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with that because I have experienced that myself. And as soon as I let go of, because I mean, they say 80% of people don't have happy childhoods. And, I love my mom, but, I used to think I had the strictest stepfather that the world ever produced. And, just all of that. And I grew up in a fairly strict household and there were certain expectations and I thought everybody else had it easier. And yeah, like when I grew up and hit the point where it's like, yeah, let go of that and stop saying, well, I'm stuck in the rut or I'm, full of self-judgment because of my childhood. Well, you got to let go of that and just forgive and let go.
I want to clap for you. And I have to tell you something else. I'm so glad you brought that out to say, they say what, 85% of the people think they had, unhappy childhoods, because that too is the myth. Oh, the perfect childhood.
Yeah.
Kim, this is one more, if you want to call them ninja tricks. This living happy inside out, I don't know when I came to this conclusion, but I realized we look at all of our lives and all of our problems or circumstances out of two lenses. We're either a beneficiary or a victim. So seriously. So I had certain things in my own life. I always felt like I was never quite good enough. I didn't get enough A's, or I was 48 years old. My mother was saying to me, oh, Maura, too bad you didn't become a lawyer. 48. I already had a successful career in corporate life. I was doing everything I loved, but in her mind, you see, I think maybe she felt she should have become a lawyer, but she put it on me. So,
yeah.
All right, here's what I want to say about all of this is that I discovered with whatever the circumstances, we can see ourselves as, oh, I had a terrible childhood, or, oh, this went wrong, or so-and-so left me, or I lost my money, my health, whatever, some of which is obviously very challenging. But we can also say, no matter what it is, I am a beneficiary. And I'm going to tell you this, Kim, if I didn't grow up feeling so disconnected from my inner self, and it was, even my name didn't fit, the clothes I wore they weren't right for me, everything, so much of it. Okay. If I didn't have an upbringing that was ill-fitting for me, okay, in terms of identity and purpose, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. Every single thing, including half of a law degree that I left. I have a mind and faculties that are so developed in me. I have skill sets. I have experiences that I literally take together. It's a toolbox, and I can't believe how much it works to my advantage for everything I do today. And that plays out with everyone everywhere. So no matter what happens, I might see it not right now, but I know this is going to turn out to my benefit.
Yes. Thank you so much for saying that, because I'm like, yes, I get that, because here I'm pointing my pen at myself. I put it down. I mean, I have done that with myself so much, as to reminding myself now where I am now. It's like, yeah, I chose that childhood to create the experiences, because yes, I wouldn't have come to even wanting to create this summit if I didn't have the childhood and the upbringing and the early adulthood that I had.
Exactly.
I'd be going on doing something else.
Exactly. And we make these choices at some subconscious level. I think we're all in a sleep. We're really in a sleep mode, and we deal with things at a very narrow level and don't realize that so much of our subconscious has called these things forth. But we can actually say, you know what, I'm going to pick out what's good about all of it. And it literally works in our favor. It works in our favor. I have skills that I wouldn't have had I grown up doing just what I wanted to do instead of what I was supposed to do. And the fact that I never felt like I was quite good enough caused me to have to think in new ways to say, well, you know what, that's uncomfortable for me, and I'm never going to get that approval I'm looking for. So how can I self-approve? What are the things that really make me feel self-approved? And so every challenge became a benefit. And I know that that's a process that can work universally for everyone, regardless of age, regardless of circumstances. It is a mindset from the inside, and it literally over time starts to reflect back on us externally.
That is so, so awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So I know we're getting close to the end of the time here. So what I want to ask you about is, I know you very generously have provided a free gift for our audience. So everyone, it's on the page that you received with the page for the recording for this. And there is a link on there to Maura's free gift. So Maura, can you tell us a little bit about what your free gift is?
Yes, my mantra is living happy from the inside out. So it's basically what's going on inside of our heads and how do we think about, how do I create a happy life out there? It always starts within. So I took 25 of my favorite quotes that involved happiness from people that are very familiar as well as obscure. And then I write about each one of these quotes. And I'll tell a little bit of a story, a little bit about the author of the quote. And then there's a little call to action. So what it does, this is where I operate. I operate in the theater of the mind. And in each little page, you could read one quote a day. You could read it all at once. You could keep going back and forth. You could print the pages up, put them on your refrigerator. But it literally helps put you in that mindset of, oh, I am happy. I am a beneficiary. And I need to add one more thing. In my book, I have a little bit of artwork. I'm a doodler. I was always in the house when I wanted to go out and play, but I learned how to doodle and went to some art classes. I have created a series of art frames, and all of my quotes are in there. And those frames and the way in which I've done them have actually become part of my own brand. So for anyone who's looking at it, you'll actually think, oh, this feels like Maura. And so I hope as they're getting it, that they will feel love, that they will feel the love that is within their own heart for themselves. And as a result, start living out of that place and space. So it is my joy to pass that along.
Wow, that is such an awesome gift. And everybody, I've seen it. So yeah, you want to grab that. And I'll let people know if they want to, find you on your website, maura4u.com. So I'll spell that for you. Maura is M-A-U-R-A, and then it's the number 4, and then the letter U.com. So that's how you can find more. And again, that'll be on the page that you've all received with this recording, and the link to the Maura's generous free gift and free art in this evening. So how does it get better than that? And is there any last words or parting words that you'd like to add, Maura?
Oh, I would. Thank you. Here it is for whoever is listening today. Your mother might not have told you. Your father might not have told you. Your teachers may not have told you. You are a gem. You are a gem. And as you know that and receive it, you can go and start pulling out that gem that you really are to show it to the world. But what's even greater is that you'll be showing it to yourself. And you will be so happy and so bright, and you will be brightening your own life, but brightening the world around you. That's it. You're a gem.
Awesome, Maura. Thank you. Thank you so much for playing with us today. I really appreciate and so grateful that you took the time. This has just been an awesome conversation. So I really want to thank you for this. And peeps out there, I just want to say stay tuned for our video tomorrow with another amazing interview with more tools and tips to get out of self-judgment, because you know what? You're not broken. Awesome. Thank you again, Maura. Have a great day.
Bye, Kim. Thank you so much.
Sure.